Hey, everybody, welcome to the FloTrack podcast. FloTrack podcast at gmail.com is our email address. You can find all the episodes on flotrack.org/FloTrack podcast. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher as well. I am Kevin. He is Lincoln. Happy Friday and happy May to you, Lincoln.
Yep, right in the middle of the track season. We're ready for conference weekend. I think it's going to be a good one.
You're right. Is it already conference weekend? The beginning.
I mean,
it's Peyton Jordan next week for sure. I remember that.
Okay. So maybe conference was slated to be a little later this year. Who really knows anymore? All I know is rent's due today, or I should say mortgage, not rent. Mortgage is due today. So that's
humble
fun.
brag there.
Yeah, humble brag for sure. Yeah, doing okay. May 1st. April went by pretty quick, despite the fact that I moved a total of like 6 feet the entire month. So
we have a busy show. We actually have news.
Yeah.
On this Friday, we have some suspensions from the athletics integrity unit that we can talk about. We have some news about some pro signings, some collegiate transfers, and something called the Ultimate Garden Clash.
Yes. Love it.
Basil, tomatoes.
Yeah.
Which one comes out on top?
The last year's edition was actually between two squirrels. The Ultimate Garden Clash. It's legendary among the vermin community. It was so. This one's going to be tough to top. It's going to be tough to top that one. But yeah, the Ultimate Garden Clash. The naming, just like anything in the world of athletics / track and field, it's very confusing. Doesn't really apply to what it is. But we'll explain it in detail as we get along here in the show.
Yeah, for sure. It is track sort of, and it's going to be coming to a YouTube channel near you on Sunday. Let's start though real quick with these suspensions because they just were announced right before we started recording, so don't have all of the information, but just that provisional suspensions were handed down for whereabouts failures for Deja Stevens, 2016 Olympian in the 200. She also made the world championship team in 2017. Gabby Thomas, who is a former Harvard star, currently training in Austin, Texas, won the indoor 200 back in 2018. And from Kenya, a really fast distance runner. Maybe a lot of people don't know his name because his best effort, his best time comes in the half marathon. Alex Correo Olio Tip 58:51 in the half and 11th in the 10,000 at these past world championships. All are provisionally suspended, like I said, for whereabouts failures. Don't know a ton of the information yet, and as with all issues like this, it's best to heed caution before making huge proclamations here. But your first thoughts, Lincoln, on this?
Well, my first thoughts go to the Christian Coleman situation that we had just this past summer. If we can't, there's no tried and true copy and paste thing as far as whereabouts failures that we can apply from the past, because it all depends on circumstances. It's all going to depend on what mistakes they made, were they deliberate, were they accidental and not having the appropriate filings. It depends. We could end up with a 2-year suspension, as is what's laid out in the rules, or you could end up with a Brianna McNeil situation where she gets it reduced to 1 year, or you could end up with a Christian Coleman where he faces no suspension. It all depends on the individual circumstances of each athlete. Now, surprised, obviously, I'm both surprised and maybe not surprised. Surprised to see athletes come up with this, because every time this happens, particularly for Americans, when we've had examples of these mistakes being made, you're always surprised that these athletes are getting these 3 strikes. How do they make these mistakes when you've seen other examples of people? Just update your whereabouts thing, update your profile, and get this correct. At the same time, I'm not incredibly surprised. We're in a state of, uncertainty right now where, there's no races going on right now. Athletes are in different situations than they've ever been in their careers. Maybe that's partly to blame. I'm not sure when this period is. As far as the Kenyan, obviously I can't speak directly to that. You want to put him in the same boat as the two American athletes, as far as, giving him innocent until proven guilty, just the same as the two American women. But my thoughts are we need to learn more about this situation. It obviously does not confirm that these are all dopers, but it obviously raises suspicion just in the same way it did for Christian Coleman. But everybody's going to have their own circumstances. I imagine everyone will mount a defense, and we'll find out more, hopefully, in the coming days and weeks.
Yeah, we don't know when these failures occurred, right? And that's a big question, because one of the things we had talked about before, when they had the IAAF, now World Athletics, had said that they aren't going to be accepting marks for rankings or qualification purposes until December, that part of the reason was the inability to do drug testing. So I'm assuming that means that there's a limited ability to do this stuff, and we've read the stories about the volunteer drug testing, but it could be a situation where these things happened throughout, prior to this period, is what I'm guessing.
Sure.
And we're just now hearing about it because it does take time to move that stuff through this system. But again, we just don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty here, because with 3 people involved, you have 3 different situations, 3 different circumstances. And remember the thing with Coleman, right? There were 2 of them ended up being missed tests, if I'm remembering right, and the one of them was the just a filing failure, and the filing failure happened outside of that quarter, outside of that year, and then it slipped out. So it was not 3 violations
right
in 1 year. So there was a lot of nuance to that case, and I'm assuming the same will be true here. Coleman, being the fastest man in the world at the time, garnered a lot more attention for it, but it will be just as, if not more complicated, I'm assuming, moving forward with 3 cases as opposed to just 1.
Yeah, I mean, Coleman's was rough timing for him. He got pretty much roasted in certain corners of the media, and
one couldn't run the Diamond League final. Remember?
Yeah,
could not run the Diamond League final,
and seemingly was fortunate that, I don't know, they got to backdate, right? One of those filing, was it the filing thing or the missed test, that he was able to backdate and to keep it within the or either within or outside the year window. I forget, whatever it was. These are the circumstances that we're waiting to learn about each of these cases. As far as practicality goes, in the women's 200 in the United States, neither of these women made the team in 2019, but both very, very young. If they, both still training, both obviously have the talent to be Olympians. I mean, Thomas was incredible just 2 years ago at NCAA's, and with Stevens, she was I think she made the Olympic. Did she make the Olympic final in 2016? So, I mean, and so I think she was still in college, or had just recently turned professional. So, Thomas has been slow to start, and Stevens hasn't really been relevant of the last couple years. You don't want to take anything, extrapolate any malfeasance just straight off of that. Obviously, there will be some suspicion, but I don't know if there's ever time to get a whereabouts violation and then maybe work to get it corrected. It's now, when it's you have all this time on your hands, you're not competing, and there's no foreseeable. I'm not saying you want to ban right now, but when there's no competition, you're not sitting out anything while you're trying to, I don't know, fight this. I guess it's not the worst possible thing. That said, I mean, this could all be, for lack of better words, they could be, all 3 of these people could be dopers. I mean, we don't know at this point. I don't want to say that, I don't want to suggest that's the case, but unfortunately, that's what this brings. You're going to have people on both sides saying, oh, this is a case of misunderstanding, or this is a case of these are all 3 people who are trying to skirt the rules. So we don't know. This is I don't. It's so weird, No other sport, maybe UFC or something, gets itself like you don't hear of a whereabouts failure for an NBA player. Like that doesn't happen. So I always wonder how this even. I know track is so global and everybody's in there training unique training camps, and you're not tied down by a team, but this doesn't happen in major sports. I'm always like, if you're truly doing this and this was an accident, I don't know how you make this mistake. I'm pretty sure the AIU is not, they have to be sure when they're doing this that this is what the athlete did and they made the violation. I don't understand how you make this mistake. I truthfully don't. It's like it'd be like the rest of us, I don't know, failing 3 times to pay your water bill. Like I don't make that mistake. Like if that's truly the case and you're just being negligent, like why are you doing? What is going on? Like why are you making that mistake? And so if it's guilt by idiotness, like it's almost the same as cheating. It's just follow the rules, and pay attention because everyone else is, and you're no different.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on to the Ultimate Garden Clash, because that is happening on Sunday. 3 of the world's best pole vaulters competing in their backyard. Renaud Lavillenie, Mondo Duplantis, and Sam Kendricks are going to compete. Now, if this was a United States marketed event, I think we would call it the Ultimate Backyard Clash. But they call these things gardens. And even though two of these guys are going to be vaulting in the United States, Kendricks will be in Mississippi, Mondo will be in Louisiana, we're still going to have to go with the European conventions here. I think Backyard Clash sounds cooler personally, but again, that could just be my bias as to how I interpret the meanings of different words. Now, it's not just like you can't play one-on-one against somebody virtually and you have to do horse. There's a catch to this because the IAAF release says the following: instead of a contest to clear the maximum height, which would be difficult with the lack of officials to move the bar up and adjust standards, the 3 athletes work together to devise their own competition format. They will attempt to vault 5 meters as many times as they can within 30 minutes. So we got speed vaulting here.
Okay. I mean, maybe they could learn something and learn to speed up the normal competitions. Maybe they can take their own lessons here. I'm going to be honest. I'm out on this. I think this is dumb.
It's better than nothing, I think.
I don't know. 5 meters? I mean, I guess, are we going to watch how many times LeBron James can dunk on a 7.5-foot goal in 30 minutes? Like 5 meters?
So you wanted him to have a straight up regular
The equivalent of this, so 5 meters, a good height for a women's vaulter. The equivalent of this is how many times can Timothy Chariot how many times can he run 4:05 in a day in the 1500?
I'd watch that.
I think this is dumb. I think this dilutes.
This ruins the integrity of garden vaulting. Garden vaulting will never be the same again. Is that what you're saying, Lincoln?
I'm not saying that it's never going to be the same. I'm saying it should never have been a thing. It's dumb. 5 feet is not, like, I understand they're going to be trying to do it a bunch of times.
5 meters.
You're going to get one of these guys hurt. You're going to get somebody hurt by doing something stupid. This is dumb.
No, I like it. I think they could have added a twist, though. We'd mentioned horse before. Maybe they could have incorporated horse within vaulting. Like you had to do it. Like, okay, we're not going to put it all the way to, we're not going to go crazy and, jump 580 or 6 meters, but like you got to vault and then do a backflip, or you vault left-handed, or Renaud busts out his skateboard like he's done before, that motorized skateboard, and fling him, like vaulting with tricks. I would be up for that. Horse pole vaulting. That's what they should be doing here.
Who do we think is the favorite here? Who's going to take this the most seriously? Like who's a volume vaulter? Who's the Jordan that's like secretly like so competitive that they can't lose this.
I feel like Renault needs a dub, right? Renault needs a win.
Yeah, he does. This may have been conceived on him bouncing back. We're gonna say, yeah, Villeneuve, like it looked like his career was winding down. But remember when he won the Ultimate Garden Clash, and that just set him forth on another 5-year run of jumping over 6 meters. Like
It all
I don't.
turned.
I would imagine that the favorite is the youngest person, is Mondo Duplantis, the guy who was jumping over 6 meters multiple times in competitions this past indoor
Yeah.
season. Like if he's getting up and doing that and then jumping multiple world records within a week, I think he recovers pretty quickly. So I would pick him as my favorite. Are you going to watch this?
Oh yeah, because I want to see how they do it. Are they just going to go? Are they going to take turns? Is it just going to be, okay, we start the clock. Is anybody going to miss? I'm curious. Admittedly, I'm not a pole vault expert, but like, how frequently can they go? Is he just going to run, go back and do another one, take a couple breaths? Is he going to go try to go one per minute? Like it's a completely abstract skill in a way, because we know that vaulters take a lot of time between jumps, and the goal is not to get as many over a lower height, it's to go once over a super duper high height. So I'm curious, like how many times can they do this? Like I would watch Timothy Chariot right now try to run 405 a whole bunch of times as well too. I just think the trick shot element would be cool. Like on the top of the standard, you put like a Red Bull or something, if you're Lavillenie or whatever your sponsor is, and you clear it. Do you have time to grab it, then take a drink?
Grab it.
Right? Yeah. Like what sort of
a lot of branding
opportunities
here.
Mondo's brother's a baseball player. Maybe mid-air, he throws a ball to Mondo and he tries to catch it. Or maybe Mondo grabs a ball off the standard, throws it to his brother who's standing underneath, hits the baseball 450 feet. I don't know. Maybe there's a lot of possibilities here that I think they could have gotten a little more creative, or maybe we'll see that in Garden Vault 2, even more garden is what it's being called, I think.
Even more. Yeah, I'll watch this. I'm going to put a mute. If I can mute like
so now you are watching
streams.
It. I talked you into it.
We'll see. If I can make sure that I mute Sam Kendrick's screen, just because I imagine he'll have like a diatribe at the end that could last 17 minutes to 4 hours. So as long as I can like make sure that I can regulate certain things, because these guys are good, but the pole vaulters, sometimes they can be a little preachy. So I also just want to see everybody's house. I mean, I know we've seen Lavilleni's home before. We've seen the Duplantis's complex. I have not seen what Kendricks is working with in Oxford, Mississippi. So we'll get to see like what they're working with, their styles. Yeah. Other than that, though, I'm still. It's like a home run derby in baseball, except they're using softball fences for the line. Like I don't get this. Couldn't they do like 5-5 or something? Like make it a little interesting.
Well, they need a staff, but you can't really get a staff of people, because then once you knock it down, though, then you got to get people to put it back up.
That's true.
This is what you don't understand about pole vaulting, Lincoln. This is why you don't appreciate the Garden Clash, and I do, is because
I don't.
They have to do something that's super low, so that the way they're basically never going to miss, because then you need people to help get it back up.
So how many times do we think they're going to be clearing this? How many times do you think they're going to clear this?
I think
like could
once
you do
per minute?
Like once per minute, once per every 2 minutes? No, more than that, right? So
no, I think because you're gonna have to run. You're gonna get tired. You're gonna get tired.
Gonna get tired.
I think
like something in the 20s.
Yeah, I think something in the 20s is perfectly reasonable. They're just gonna put on a bunch of loud techno music, and they're just going to go there and rage. Do they ever do this in practice? I don't think this is part of their daily repertoire of like, all right, guys,
this is their long run.
It's the off season. Yeah, it's base work. It's Sunday. So what we're going to do is you're going to vault as many times as you can, and then you're going to take a 5-minute break and then vault some more. I would put, if I set a completely arbitrary over under, 26.
26.
I'll go 26. Yeah.
Yeah, I think somebody's going to figure out a way to do this, and I think they're going to do more than one a minute. I think somebody's going to go over 30, and I'm picking Mondo to win.
Okay. It'll be a Garden Clash record if that happens.
That's true. That is true. Will be a Garden Clash record. What's going to be the follow up to this? Are we going to have like Thomas Walsh and Joe Kovacs like slinging golf balls to see how far they can throw golf balls?
No, that'd be the javelin throwers. I think that's more of a javelin throw. I think they would take maybe, I don't know, like a bowling ball, maybe like an 8-pound bowling ball, like a super big one. And they maybe they just have like a whole row of bowling balls or something like that, and they just chuck them one after the other. I mean, adding in the time element, and the volume element is something you don't see normally in track and field, right? It's never how many X can you do in Y, really.
Mm-hmm.
I guess running is how many laps can you, or with like those weird hour records and things like that. But this is a completely foreign concept. I mean, again, given what else we have, they're probably just also they're testing Renault's internet connection for the Impossible games, because he's going to be then he's actually vaulting against Mondo, right? And they're going to need somebody to put the standards up and down. So I don't know how many people he has to socially distance from, Renault does, but he would need a staff of people, I would guess.
So Mondo's competing at the Impossible Games, and he's going to Oslo?
Yeah, that was the one thing I was wondering about, because they're not doing any flights into Oslo. So they're flying those people. They're flying to Sweden, and then they're driving. Driving with electric cars is what the release said. I'm guessing the hope by then is that travel is not as risky. But I know Sweden's handled the crisis differently than other countries. Yeah. So that was the one I was wondering about, because everybody else, I believe, is based in one of those two countries. Actually, I mean, Sondre Gudbranson of Norway did schooling out here. So maybe he's on the same flight. Maybe two people on one Delta flight direct to Stockholm. They get on two different electric cars and vault against a guy who's in his garden in France. I mean, this is just everything you could hope for in a sporting event.
If Renault is vaulting from home, why doesn't Mondo just vault from home for the Impossible Games? Does he really need to? There's no fans.
Maybe they're testing Mondo's internet connection too.
I am not flying internationally right now. In fact, we may have seen the last time I leave my house. The state of Texas just opened up today, because absolutely the virus is gone. We all know that. So I'm just saying, that's unrelated, but this is a crisis waiting to happen. Anyways, the pole vault community overall, they're just
they're going for it. They're shooting their shot.
They're ready to go. I'm not saying I saw Sam Kendricks at a rally at one of the capitals, but maybe I did. No, I'm just kidding. We'll see if I watch this. It's going to be on at like 11 a.m. here in the U.S. Central Time. Yeah. Maybe I turn that on. Maybe I don't.
Maybe you watch it archive, though. You don't need to watch it. I don't know if it's necessarily something you need to watch live, right? It could be something you can view after. All right, let's talk about pro news. In a track and field news article about Sinclaire Johnson, there was a section there about how she's joined the Bowerman Track Club, which I know you and Gordon did an episode like last week, 2 weeks ago. Who will be the next person to sign with the Bowerman Track Club? I don't think you mentioned Sinclaire Johnson, so you both are wrong. That's why I brought this this topic up.
I mentioned her privately. We were mostly talking about
private. That doesn't count. That does not count.
We were talking about college athletes that were coming in. I mean, she's an obvious choice. That was obvious that she was going to go to the Bowerman Track Club. When you're that talented, when you come out of college and you've run 2 flat and 405, or whatever she's run. She ran 4:04 or something at USA's to finish 4th. Nike does not want her to train by herself. I mean, she's obviously had success doing that, but you get her with Shelby Houlihan, all of a sudden now she's going to be this is routine for her, going to be making teams and, making finals. It's just like, it feels automatic. Winners and losers of this, obviously winner, Sinclaire Johnson, loser, probably Nikki Hiltz, because now all of a sudden Sinclaire Johnson has world-class training partners and gets in the Bowerman machine with Jerry Schumacher. Now every interview with her will start with Jerry said blank, as every Bowerman athlete does. So we get that. I always enjoy that. This is obviously a no-brainer for her in the Bowerman Track Club. She's got a huge future. She was outstanding last year, and this made sense. I didn't understand why it took so long to get her out to Portland, but yeah, great addition for the team, and
she's still
elevates
not there.
her.
She's still not there, but she's signed.
Well, I mean, she'll be out there, whatever. I imagine.
I thought you meant literally right now. You're into travel. You're covering the travel beat. I just want to make sure you know where everybody's at. Okay, Mondo, Louisiana, Sinclaire, still in Oklahoma.
Right.
Another reason why she's a winner, I think everybody is a winner who signed pro contracts pre-pandemic. And I don't know how much that money was base salary versus incentives based on time or finishes at championships. But the more of your money was guaranteed up front as a base salary, the better right now, because you have no idea when you're going to get back on the track. Interesting perspective there from Hiltz. Yeah. I mean, she already was really good. Johnson was right there with Hiltz for that final spot. We have a situation now, and Bowerman Track Club, the rich just get richer. Potentially 9 people, 9 of the 15 mid-distance and distance spots could go to the Bowerman Track Club. That's a stretch, but it's not completely outside the realm of possibilities. You start with 4 locks, and then the other 5, even if 50% of them hit, then you're looking at almost half of the team, or just over half of the team, comprised of BTC athletes here. And in the 1500, it makes sense because they have Shelby there as the main star, but there's 2 other spots on that team available. So it makes sense to add someone at that distance.
Yeah. The team element kind of gets more absurd as we go along. Because the Bowerman Track Club has so many more resources.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not fun anymore. Like, I understand why NOP shut down, and they deserve that. But we used to have this rivalry. Now there's no rivalry or anything like that. Like, I miss these days. Now everyone just goes to Bowerman. There used to be some question about, are they going to go to NOP or are they going to go to Bowerman? Like, that was fun. Those were better days. And
they're the 2017 Warriors?
What's that?
They're the 2017 Warriors is what you're saying.
Yeah, but there's no competition. I mean, I'm sorry, but there's no other training group probably worldwide that's even close. I mean, maybe, some of the ones in Kenya, sure, but they don't get their own jerseys and they don't reference their coach by name over and over and over and over again. I just miss the days of NOP versus Bowerman.
Yeah. I mean, the last couple of years, it was never really that close. The events that they were competing.
I mean, do you like one training group having all the good athletes? Like,
no, but then it turns into them versus everybody, right? So it's not BTC versus NOP, or the group formerly known as NOP, or BTC group this versus this group or that group. It's just them versus sheer numbers. No, it would be a lot more fun. I think everybody agrees on that, because everybody, when you ask any track and field fan, oh, what would you like to see more of? They always mention team competitions and more rivalries between groups and a greater emphasis on this group versus that group. That's fun to watch, but that ship is I feel like that ship is sailed. So now, as was the case with the Warriors, it's just like, all right, well, they're going to win. So let's just see how dominant they can be. Like, let's just see how many games can they win? Now,
As a wise man named Bill once said, the league is too buddy these days, and when everyone's on the same team, it's not as
yeah,
fun.
we'll
Oh,
see.
look, the Bowerman Track Club's fighting it out for spots. It's like what a rivalry they have. They're all roommates and training partners. It's like this is absurd. Like
Well,
I
look,
understand why we need more
the
training groups.
NBA.
Can Nike make another training group? There are more coaches out there. Can we have somebody become another Nike coach? And I
Why?
know
To
that
compete with themselves? Why do they want to compete with themselves? They got a good thing going. It's working. They're going to compete with themselves. Look, there's no stopping this. A basketball team has a limit amount of people you can put on it, and they run out of money to pay for it. They could have everybody on the team. They could have 15 of the 15 distance spots, right? There's no end to this. There's no luxury tax. What are we talking about here?
But what about the sport, Kevin? What about the sanctity of who makes the team and what color jersey they're wearing when they qualify for the Olympics?
Keeps me up at night. I got to be honest, Lincoln. It has always
Yeah.
kept me up at night. I like the new jerseys, so the more we see of them, the better. No, it's not a real issue. The sheer numbers of it is going to be preposterous if they are able to put 9. I mean, do you think that they could get all 9?
All the distance.
So 9 would be
and,
here. I'll tell you who 9 would be. 9 would be in the 800
Jenny
cake
Simpson's
race.
still making teams. Yeah.
Yeah. Cake race in the 800. Sinclair and Shelby in the 1500. In the steeplechase, Quigley and Frericks. That's 5. In the 5,000, Schweizer, who I'm considering a lock right now, just based on what she's done the last 2 years. Schweizer, and then I think Frazier has a shot at it, so that's 7. And then in the 10,000, Hall and Enfield. Those, that's tough because Sisson and Huddle are going to be back next year, raring to go. But I mean, Enfield has a medal, and Hall makes teams, so that's 9, and that's not even including. I mean, there's probably some outside shot people too, in addition to that. But I mean, everybody and somebody else will join before next year too. There'll be another person that'll be on there as well too, which will add to it. But it is interesting to see how this shakes out.
Here's a conspiracy theory. Nike's 2020 kits were made public. I think Riley Masters tweeted them out or something like that, and they were posted. They look like barbed wire going across the chest. Perhaps Sinclaire Johnson saw those and said, no, I'm not wearing those. I need to go to Bowerman. This is my move. No, I need to be in red and black. I do not want teal and green barbed wire for my second pro season.
Is the barbed wire supposed to symbolize the fact that the tracks are closed? Is that what they were going for?
Maybe. Is it supposed to be barbed wire? I mean, it's definitely what they look like. It
looks like barbed wire. And what's their obsession with teal? Who from the teal team is really pumping out everything at Nike Design recently?
Well, here's what they actually have a specific team at Nike, and they're called Teal Team 6. And they're a pretty big deal. They're pretty influential. They're known as the toughest graphic designers in the world. So that's why we've seen that throughout the years.
Look, I did not like the split jerseys last year. I thought the ones for the reigning champions were okay with the black and the mixture in black and gold, but I didn't like the blue and then the teal. The two-tone ones were not good. It's been a couple of years since Nike's had a good base jersey. The Bowerman ones are good. I like the Bowerman ones. Those are good.
Again, this could be my age, but I feel like maybe around 08, the black and white ones that were look like almost tattoo designs. That's like my last favorite. I didn't enjoy the years where everybody was neon yellow.
Yep, I remember that.
2 or 3 years ago when they were the Greyhound bus seat design, if you remember that. It's like all that random colors mixed together into a purple and blue and red. Wasn't a fan of that. So I know we can be critical, but I'm just wondering, did Nike come to you knowing that you are the kit rankings guru? Did they come through you first?
No, and that's why I'm a little upset because I never would have given those the green light. I don't think the design is great. I don't like the color schemes. You have some of the best designers in the world, I assume, working for you. I just think we could do better. I think that they could do better because so many athletes are going to be wearing that because they sponsor so many athletes. So that
Right.
one little decision influences much of what we see on the track. So I don't like the barbed wire. Are they going to do new ones for 2021? Are they going to?
I would
Was
assume
this
they do
just
new
the?
ones every single year. Maybe they were saving these. They're like, well, because like I assume they have designs. They don't just like make one design a year. I'm sure they're making multiple and they're in different stages. So they probably have the next 5 to 10 years planned out. Maybe they
Yeah.
have this one saved for 2022. It's supposed to be an off year, and they're like,
Okay.
listen, all of our B designs are always going to be in an off year. So we may not even have track at all in 2020. So let's definitely use our C- design right now. And if the worst of it is Riley Masters tweets it out, then that we're okay. But these are the uniforms we have for this year, knowing no one's going to actually wear them.
I hope that that's the explanation. I hope that that's the explanation because there's they got to come up with better ones. I mean, whoever designed the Bowerman one, put them in charge of. Is that the same person who's coming up with this other one?
Right, and those are good. Those are good. And I
you know
actually enjoyed NLP's oil spill, although
Yeah,
it led directly, of course. What does oil do? It eventually catches fire, and that's exactly what happened. So that was a little foreshadowing.
Speaking of jerseys that we like, and we're obligated, as is every podcast right now, to talk about the Bulls documentary. So I'm going to take this moment to bring up the Bulls documentary right now. When the Bulls went to those black jerseys, those were nice. Were you a fan of the black jerseys for the Bulls?
Personal favorite of the they had pinstripes ones. Are you talking about those or just Those are clutch. I mean, I'm still the classic red and white. That's my jam. But yeah, there was those are some fierce looks. I mean, I've always been biased. I think the Bulls have the best uniform. People are critical of the Bulls uniforms now. It's probably because the team is just so lousy. But I just don't know how you can get more classic than that red and white look. And obviously Jordan made that.
Well, now everybody's got 6 alternate jerseys, and there's a camo one,
I don't like
and there's a city version.
I don't like.
Yeah, there's a million. Were the Bulls the first ones in basketball to have the alternate color, to have that third color?
You'd have to ask my friend Bill about that. He would have a deep reservoir of knowledge there. But the uniforms have gotten so ridiculous. As soon as I saw the Brooklyn Nets with a Bed-Stuy, they're naming it after certain neighborhoods, whatever, Bed-Stuy, whatever the hell it is. That's stupid. That's stupid. That'd be like San Antonio being like, we're going to be the Bastrop Spurs for tonight. Like, that's dumb. Let's not do that. And it's too much, man. I think the problem is we got too many graphic designers coming through, and everyone thinks they need 74 on staff, and they're just going they're going nuts. So I appreciate the Bulls. You know, they have a couple looks. They went a little wild with the black and the pinstripes, but they keep it down the middle of the fairway. Huh?
Do they have a city version?
Yeah, they have that Chicago flag, which Chicago like tries to embrace. I don't understand.
What does it say on the front? Does it say something different on the front?
It may. I don't know if it says Chi-Town or if it says Windy. I'm sure they've had a Windy City one. The city one though is the Chicago flag, which is the stars and the blue. I don't know if it says anything on there. Okay.
All right.
But if we learn anything from this podcast, is that I don't know how to pronounce Bedford-Stuyvesant, whatever. So
Bedford-Stuyvesant. Listen to some Notorious B.I.G., Lincoln. You got to visit Brooklyn. And then you'll be up on it. Yeah, Bed-Stuy. Okay. I've been to Brooklyn once in my life, by the way. I have no credibility on this.
Cool.
Let's talk NCAAs. Let's talk transfers. Fiona O'Keefe from Stanford to New Mexico. Now, this would be even bigger news if she had cross-country eligibility left, because then you could be looking at a title team next year in New Mexico, pairing her with Wadey Kaladi up front. But she has only track eligibility left, a couple indoors, and I think 1 outdoor to go. But I mean, she's one of the best women's runners in the nation, going from Stanford to New Mexico.
Yeah, get her
And
in
her
the Joe
sister's there.
Franklin system. Maybe Wayne Colati has somebody to run with. We saw her tempo; she does those by herself. Yeah, joining her sister is the thing, and I think as you pointed out, maybe in a text chain that you and I have with Gordon, people are fleeing Stanford right now.
Yeah, and I mean, with any coaching change that happens, there's going to be people who move on, right? It's just that coaching change by the time it happened. Remember, it was so late
Yeah,
in the year last year that they finally got a coach in. But yeah, Thomas Ratcliffe looking to transfer. A couple people have said that to us. So, I mean, they're going to be fine. Stanford's going to be fine. They're not going to ever be lacking in
yeah,
recruits. And I thought they did coming in late last year. I thought they did really well, particularly on the women's side.
they did
The men, I
excellent.
know.
Yeah, they had a great year.
Yeah. Well, and they could have look at well, we're never going to remember indoors because there was no championship. So the story's not really written on indoors, but on the women's side of things in particular, they had a squad going there. Like
Yeah,
JJ Clark was basically recreating that mid-distance magic. You had a DMR team that was going to be in contention for the win, and I would think top 3 at worst. Jessica Lawson was running really fast. Julia Haymock was running really fast. Obviously, O'Keefe was there. Like you had a really good group, and I think you're still going to have a really good group. I think it probably just took longer for people who ordinarily might have moved on just because that's the natural course of things. It just took them a little longer because the decision was made so much later than we're used to seeing.
yeah,
But I think they're going to be fine, and that was not an ideal situation to take over a program. And I thought they in the fall and in the winter, I think they did as good as you could expect.
yeah. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see where Ratcliffe goes. Does he go to North Carolina to match back up with Milt? I mean, Ratcliffe was running well at the beginning of last year, and then he just bombed at NCAA's in cross country. And I think he had a decent track season up to this point, or when the season stopped. I don't know. I don't think he was qualified for NCAA's, but I think he'd run like 4 flat in the mile. I mean, so a very big talent that somebody could get. But yeah, I mean, with coaching changes, personality changes, that's the bigger thing, I think, than results for a lot of athletes. They want the coach that recruited them to still be the coach that's coaching them. I understand that, but there's no doubting or there's no denying that, the JJ Clark, Ricardo Santos, they were getting results. And so it's not like they're going to stop getting top recruits. It's Stanford after all. Ronald McDonald could be the coach at Stanford and people would still sign with Stanford. So
yeah. Well, I mean, look at the women's cross country squad. I mean, they weren't going to have O'Keefe anyway, but you go into the fall with I don't think I mentioned Ella Donahue. Did I mention Ella Donahue? I might not even mention Ella Donahue. She's really good too. So you have Donahue, you have Haymock, you have Lawson, Jordan Oakes. Like you have the core of a really good team.
yep.
I'm sure they're going to have recruits. I don't even know what the recruiting situation is with Stanford. I just always assume is really good. Like they're going to be one of the teams to beat. We don't know how everything's going to shake out with transfers, so it's too early to tell, but you'd probably put them on a short list of one of the best 5 teams in the nation right now for the women. So,
Of course.
yeah. All right. Well, that's it. That's all for today's episode. We covered it all, Lincoln, from
We did.
provisional suspensions to pole vaulting and gardens, the strength of the Bowerman Track Club, the Bulls jerseys, some NCAA transfers. I think no stone unturned.
Yep, I gotta call Samsung about my washer, which is already not working after I paid a ton of money for it. So homeowner life is all it's chalked up to be. So busy day ahead for me, but I think we've covered the track and field news. Watch or don't watch the Ultimate Garden Clash, and I hear if Kendricks wins, we can rename it the Kendricks family barbecue Oxford, Mississippi edition backyard bonanza, something more American than Ultimate Garden Clash. This is a situation where the beverage of choice,
I like it.
the beverage of choice for this is tea. if Kendricks wins, the beverage of choice is going to be like a fine gas station beer. Like that's what I want. And this needs to be like, who's going to be doing this drunk? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. I did not think about that. All right. FloTrack podcast at gmail.com is the email address. Again, flotrack.org/FloTrack podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. We will be back on Monday. Leave us a review in Apple Podcasts if you could be so kind, and send us an email. Let us know what you're thinking about in the running world. Thanks to Alon for producing. Thanks to Lincoln for co-hosting this week. We'll talk to you guys on Monday.